morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio, and I know I've already done a couple of videos today, and I know by the time this goes up, it will be almost midnight UK time, but the lovely Stephen Kent over at Ludkins Collectibles has gone and shown us the pre-release promos from Unified Minds. So what am I going to do? Not make a video telling you about them and ranking them? No, that doesn't sound like me. I'm going to rank them, and I'm going to show you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off. And I will say, these are all pretty similar. So, I've ranked them 1 to 4. I actually feel pretty good about the ranking. But please do bear in mind, these are all very similar in terms of goodness here. But coming in at number 4, we've got Amoongus. Now, really, the selling point of Amoongus here is an ability whereby if you play a Pokemon that has the attack Spore, you get to leave your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned and asleep. Now, for those of you wondering, the Pokemon that have Spore are Fungus and Breloom. I've actually got a couple of winning Breloom deck lists to show you in a day or two. So you either evolve up into Breloom or you play Fungus, and then your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned and asleep. Don't forget that we're going to be getting Slumber Forest in the same set in Unified Minds, which says you got to flip 2 coins for sleep between turns, and if either is tails, you stay asleep. This could be a very, very nice Pokemon. It's really is largely there for the ability. The attack is fine, but it's not really something to get excited about. It's not the reason why we play the card. 90 damage if the opponent is poisoned for 2 energy. We don't have double colorless energy, though we will get triple acceleration energy to replace it in the same set. But it's still not really worthy of the investment. Biggest issue for this, of course, is Mareep from Lost Thunder, which, if it's in the active, can leave your opponent's active asleep. And the decks in Japan at the moment that have been playing around with sleep have been playing Mareep rather than Amoongus. Still a bunch of potential here, but I feel comfortable putting it in at number 4. In at number 3, we've got Terrakion. And I'm not excited about the 2 fighting energy, 2 colorless 110. I am excited about the 1 fighting energy, 2 colorless attack, because this gets really big really quickly. Now, initially it does 50 damage, but if all of your bench Pokemon have damage on, you do 200 damage. And we haven't received an official ruling, but it seems pretty clear to me that if you've got no bench, you've got no Pokemon with damage on, and therefore you won't do the extra damage. The thing is, being a fighting type is great. You're hitting weakness on Pikachu and Zekrom, which is the second best Pokemon in the format right now. And you've got Diancie Prism Star to do an extra 20 damage. You've got Martial Arts Dojo to do an extra 10 or 40 if you're behind on prizes. And we're going to have Black Belt that reduces the cost by 1 fighting energy if you're behind on prizes. Now, to be fair, being behind on prizes is not difficult, especially with stuff like Miss Magius that you can KO and draw 7 cards, or to be more precise, draw until you have 7 cards in hand. You'll draw 7, but only if you've got an empty hand. The only real issue with Terrakion for me is the fact that it's expensive. It's fighting double colorless. If we still had double colorless, you're behind on prizes, Black Belt double colorless, we're off and rolling. It can't use triple acceleration energy because it's a basic Pokemon. It's not an evolved Pokemon. And it just becomes really awkward. I love it. I'm not loving the fact that Virizion got a GX and Cobalion got a GX, and in this set Keldeo's getting a GX, but Terrakion still doesn't have a GX. That doesn't seem cool to me. But I do think it's a good Pokemon with 1 really good attack. Plus 140 HP for a basic is kind of nuts. Honestly, if you can pay the attack cost here, it's great. Yeah, the damaged Pokemon on the bench is a bit of an issue, but you can play stuff like Spiritomb, you can play GXs and play Shrine of Punishment. There's a million different ways to damage your bench. That I'm not particularly worried about. The attack cost does worry me, and that's why I'm putting it in at number 3. In at number 2, the Pokemon that may well see the most play, Necrozma. The thing about the Necrozma is it's got 2 passable attacks. Now you'll see what I mean in a moment. The first attack for 2 colourless energy does 30 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less from attacks. The problem is we don't have double colourless anymore, as I just told you. So it's kind of annoying to pay this. And we don't have choice bands, so you really are just doing 30. And that worries me a little bit. I just don't think you're doing enough. If you can get a KO with this attack and then have an effective HP next turn of 160, all in favour. All in favour. But outside of that, I'm just a bit on that attack. Now, what I will say is that the second attack is a lot better. The second attack for... well, here's the thing. It's really for 2 Psychic and a colourless energy, but it's really for 2 Psychic and a special energy. Because you see, it does 100 damage, but if you've got any special energy attached to it, you do 160. And this is what I'm liking. Let's not forget that by the time this comes out, Mew Mew's going to be a thing. And Mew Mew is weak to Psychic, so this will absolutely smash through that, which is lovely. And 160 will get pretty much any non-GX, while taking out the Dene? That's pretty much it. But 160 for free energy on a non-GX is really quite strong. And the thing is, this has a natural deck into which it fits. And that's Malamar. Because you see, when it comes to Malamar, we're already playing Malamar to accelerate the psychic energy, and we're generally playing Ultra Necrozma, which means we can very easily play unit energy because we need to play metal energy. It can just as easily be unit because metal and psychic are on the same card there. And then if you put a unit energy into psychic, which you use Malamar for, then all of a sudden Ultra Necrozma is hitting 160 and life is good. If you're playing Malamar Ultra Necrozma and you're willing to play unit energy rather than basic metal, I see no real reason not to put at least one of these in, which is why I think this might see more play than any of the others, because it fits in very naturally. But number 1, I'm going Tapu Fini, and I know not all of you are going to agree with me here, and I'm cool with that. But I feel good about it because it is a basic Pokemon that for a single energy can counter one of the best decks in the format. And for that reason, I think we've got to accept it as a really quite phenomenal card. Now, I'm not talking about the first attack that does 20 for a water energy. That's not exciting me. I'm talking about the second attack, water colorless 100 damage. But if your opponent has an Ultra Beast in play, that does not mean you're against an Ultra Beast, it just means they've got one in play. You can use the attack for 1 colorless energy. Frankly, this is made to counter Blacephalon. Either of them, incidentally, the GX or the non-GX, they're both seeing quite a bit of play. But the GX here, you're hitting 200, they've got 180, and this is basic Pokemon single colorless energy. That's why this is so good. Instant one-hit KO on Blacephalon, either of them. But those Ultra Necrozma Malamar decks I just told you about, if they've got an Ultra Necrozma out, you can take out a Malamar. If you're going against one of these decks that's playing stuff like Buzzwole and Nihilego, they're often playing Jirachi as well. So as soon as they put one of those Pokemon down, you can then get an easy one-hit KO on Jirachi. Unfortunately, you will be 10 damage short from Zapdos, which is kind of annoying, but I'm sure there are ways around that. The point is, this is I've said it a couple of times, basic Pokemon, single colorless energy. When you're talking about a counter Pokemon, attacking Pokemon, one to chuck into a deck and see how it looks, you cannot beat basic Pokemon single colorless energy. Unless you go free, but that's getting a bit greedy. You know, free attacks, you're just getting greedy at that point. And that's why I'm putting this at number 1. Maybe Necrozma ends up seeing more play, but the fact that this is the most easily splashable counter to, well, it just won the last big regional, so one of the best cards in the format, I think has got to be number 1. I don't think there's a huge difference between 1 to 4 here, if I'm honest with you, but I do feel pretty good about my list. But as always, I would very much encourage you to give me your own list in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then of course thank the lovely Stephen Kent for sharing this information. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. Like, for instance, the Final Fantasy TCG that we literally just started covering today. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.